Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Tiina Jarvet and I've got Gillian Whitney, and we're going to be talking about their book, Your Voice Matters, Present from the Heart. Thank you so much for coming on and talking. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn is probably the best place to find us. So that's where we met, and this is really the most reliable social media platform where you build relationships, and that's where it all started.
Ditto.
Same with you, Gillian.
Absolutely. Love LinkedIn. It's my number one favorite place to be. And whether you're doing business or job hunting, LinkedIn is the business platform that we love to play at.
And we've already had comments from Debbie Wymis and Jeff Young. Thank you so much for saying hi. So thanks for the book. Really loved it. What was the inspiration behind the book?
Well, the inspiration is that we were both writing books and collaborating on other stuff, and then we thought we had this experience together presenting at the Uplift Live conference in Birmingham, and we were preparing our presentations together, and then we thought, why don't we write a book about it, so that we can share our experience and not forget what we learned.
Because you actually met, didn't you, through LinkedIn, didn't you, online?
Yes, we did.
Because Tiina, you're in Estonia, and Gillian, you are a digital nomad currently in Texas.
Correct. And we met actually when Tiina was in Brazil and I was in Israel. So we weren't even, by the time we actually met in person, we were living in different countries again, which just goes to show you how LinkedIn is so global.
And I love the book. I mean, we all have to be in a situation where we have to give presentations from time to time. And I know that wherever you are, whenever you have to give that first presentation, it's scary. And what you've done is that you put together a book based on your own experiences about how you can try and make the situation a little less scary. So first and foremost, people, I think public speaking is probably one of the most feared things of anything that anybody can do. So how do you feel that your book helps people overcome that?
Maybe you can start, Gillian, and then I'll add something.
I think the first thing is to understand that it's not just you. And I think that's probably the core problem when it comes to public speaking. Everybody thinks everyone else is a natural speaker, but me, and that there's something wrong with me for being afraid to do public speaking. But in essence, that fear is really, we just have to relabel it as excitement. So if you put a different shift on things, on how you talk about it, how you think about it, it can be a whole different experience. So I think, I come from a Toastmasters background. And again, I always thought, oh, there's natural speakers. And it's like, no, it is a learned skill it is a skill that anyone can learn. And it doesn't matter if you're on a stage, in a boardroom, or on a live stream. We're all nervous. We're all nervous now. But the thing is that we're harnessing that energy and kind of being a little bit more gregarious, excited, and that can be a benefit for us if we can just harness it and relabel that fear as excitement.
Tiina?
I agree with Gillian, and I also think that maybe the scariest thing even is public drawing. Like, everyone knows about public speaking, but public drawing, because nobody draws in public. Like, if you ask a CEO to draw something in a meeting, they would draw like a 5-year-old. So I think what we speak about in the book is the preparation, and we give examples how you can do it. And a big part of it is really writing it out, doing your mind map and being clear who is your target audience and what you want to convey in your message.
So what are the common mistakes that people make?
I would say that you don't research your audience. You don't know to whom you're talking to. You're talking about the same thing and think that one size fits all. It's not that. I think the most important part is not being perfect, but connecting with the audience. So I think if you miss that part, it can be very boring and nobody wants to listen to a presentation that's on autopilot. You really want to make sure that the audience, you meet the expectations of the audience. What do you think, Gillian?
Oh, and I agree. And I think also too, you want to make by knowing your audience, you can tailor your presentation because everybody's there for what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And if you don't make that connection that somebody is going to learn from something, we don't want to just hear a story for story's sake. We actually want to hear a story that will make a difference in my life and maybe help me learn something and use that as an anchor so that when I'm in a similar situation, I might say, oh, I remember that speech that Tim gave, and he started talking about when he was on Mount Everest and he ran out of Pringles or something like that. And I better make sure that when I'm doing something, I don't run out of Pringles. It's a metaphor. So those are the kind of things I think people make as a mistake. They just go into their long, boring story about how they did this and how they did that. And the audience is like, they're on their phone, they're checking out. So make it about the audience, which is why you need to know who the audience is.
Yeah, you talk about that in the book. You also talk in the book about finding your unique voice when presenting. So how do first-time speakers do that?
You want to go, Gillian?
Sure. I think the way you naturally are is how you should be. You don't want to go into teacher mode. You don't want to go into presenter mode that it's like, she's a totally different person. The whole idea of marketing is for people to get to know, like, and trust you. So be your natural self. And that's why I love live video, because it's forgiving. This is how you show up. I couldn't keep coming up here and being a fake. I have to be who I am. So speak in your natural voice, write for the ear instead of, going out and typing out your presentation and using words that you would use on a blog. You have to speak it. So that's why I recommend pick up your phone and dictate your speech into your phone, because that's your natural language. So I think that helps you find your voice. And if there's funny things, you can even survey your friends. You could say, what are 3 things that you'd say, this really makes Gillian Gillian? And people might say, oh, you're not afraid of going, and you make funny faces. Or other people, I bring Bitmojis in, my little cartoon drawings. For other people, that would not be considered professional. But for me, that's a part of my personality. So I think all of those different things, map it out and really figure out who you are. But it should be the persona that you're doing on social media so that everything is aligned and congruent.
And for those that don't know, these are actually in the book. There's actually Tiina's images and all the way through the book. So it's not like a boring textbook. You've actually written it in a way. You got photos and bullet points. So it's a really easy book to read. When you talk in the book about crafting a compelling narrative, what do you mean by that?
So I think it's really about talking about your own experiences and connecting with the audience. So your narrative has to be something that only you would be able to talk about, something that makes you stand out, something that makes you different, because everyone else is already taken. So you really have to be yourself. And you ask about your own voice. It's everyone has a different voice, and some messages you really need to hear from a certain person. Then it connects with us, and we think, okay, if she could do it, I can do it as well. So really talk about storytelling, because that's what people remember as well in the future. It can be during a job interview as well. I remember stories from 5 years ago with candidates who told a story about their personal experience, why they chose a certain career. That's what we remember. We don't remember facts and figures. We want to hear human stories.
Exactly. And I would just add to that too, is tell a story and make a point. So have your stories do something. And then if you can go full circle with your beginning story and your ending story, and somehow they tie together at the end, it kind of wraps up your whole presentation like you're putting a little bow on the box. And so I know one of the things that we did when Tiina and I were practicing our speeches together, one of the things Tiina said is, oh, I like how you have a really good opening story. And I talked about going to Los Angeles and being discovered in Hollywood. And I wasn't, spoiler alert, I wasn't. And Tiina said, oh, I have a great story. And she started talking about, was it your grandmother? And she was a matchmaker, and she was talking about matches and matchboxes. And that's what Tiina is as a recruiter. She's a matchmaker. So again, she took a story that was very personal, actually even had a prop, and then she went and made the analogy of how that related to her job. So again, tell a story, make a point.
So especially for first-time speakers, in fact, for people that have spoken an awful lot, Michelle Marikos makes a really good, asks a great question. What about imposter syndrome?
It's a really, really good question, and we actually have a whole chapter about it in the book, because it's something that I wouldn't want to call it a syndrome, because it's not a syndrome. It's how we feel, and how to overcome it. And it's really important that that you remember who is your target audience, for whom are you telling your story, why do they need to hear it from you, and what happens if they don't hear it. So really put the message in the focus, and not yourself. You're not there to talk about yourself. You're really helping others to find inspiration, or to educate them, or really be there. So it makes a difference, because you know something that's obvious to you, but other people don't know it. So it's I think it's almost your duty, if you have this knowledge, to share it. Otherwise, I think you're losing it, and it only grows when you share it. So yeah, this is what we said about imposter syndrome.
And I think with imposter syndrome, I think we all feel we have to be at the top. I'll use Mount Everest again. We all have to be at the top of the mountain, but we don't. We just have to be one part up the mountain ahead of somebody down, and we can reach back and pull them to our level. So don't think you have to know everything. You just need to know a little bit more. And whenever we're feeling imposter syndrome kind of like hitting at us, what we should focus on is instead focus on the audience and say, how much more could I do to help this person? Because the more we're thinking about the audience, the less we're thinking about us. So when you're thinking, oh, who am I? The emphasis is on the wrong person. It's not about you, it's about them.
So Debbie makes a great comment about authenticity, and I agree with that. One of the things, I don't know about you, well, you talk in the book about doing dry runs, and I'm terrible for, I'll dry run it and dry run it and dry run it. But there's always this balance, isn't there, between preparation and spontaneity. So how do you get that balance between not just the fact that you've dry runned it 100 times, plus the fact that you go out and it's spontaneous?
I think we had the universe helping us. Like we did the dry runs, and it's really, really helpful to do it together with somebody like I did with Gillian.
Yeah.
Like doing a week recording myself on Zoom was equivalent to one meeting with Gillian when a person is listening to you. So I really got so much better from her feedback and doing everything with just one accountability partner, somebody who is actually there. So you really, and on the day of the presentation, the audience makes you really deliver the best version. And what I said, that the universe helped us, there were technical problems. So all the speaker notes disappeared. So I just had to speak from my heart and look at the slides and do my best, because nobody knows your script by heart. Gillian knew a little bit, but nobody would know if you would say something different. So it's really talking in the moment and doing the best you can, because you have rehearsed and you know your subject so well.
And that's why storytelling is so good, because we want to memorize our speech, but that's the worst thing you can do. You should know your speech so you can do a dry run. You could actually have a script if that makes you more comfortable. But like Tiina says, be prepared so that if the speaker notes disappeared, you wouldn't fall apart. You could still, okay, I know that slide. And when I'm on that slide, I'm talking about this, this, and this. And it's, yeah, it's going to come out a little bit different, but that's actually going to make it more authentic, like Debbie mentioned in the comments. And I think the other thing is you just have to be prepared for things are going to go wrong, but people will be cheering you on. And it's okay. You can handle it. And if you just remember those words, you can handle it, you're going to be able to do anything. So practice doesn't make perfect. Practice just makes you comfortable.
Yeah, I remember speaking quite recently, and the whole thing was set up for Microsoft PCs, and I use a Mac. And I turned up, and you know, it was, and I just said, is there anybody technical in the audience? And someone came up, and they basically sorted out the slides. Well, I did the first, you know, the introduction of the presentation, and having to do it completely, you know, but I'd been practicing, so I kind of knew what it was. But it, you know, these things always happen, and it's you know, it's just something you have to deal with. One thing you talk about in the book, which I really loved, also about the presentation, was that you say don't just see this as a presentation, see this as an opportunity to meet other people and network. And I think so many people forget that, don't they?
Yeah,
Absolutely. That it's like you are on before you're on the stage. You know, you're on before you even step foot forward. People are getting to know you beforehand, and you should leverage these opportunities to meet as many people as possible, because you're kind of the star of the show if you're speaking. So utilize that. And Tiina, really, that was an emphasis for her in the book. Is she says, I don't think we should end with the presentation is over. What's the next step? Whether it's photo opportunities with other people, getting to know people, getting other speaking gigs to further your relationships with other people that you know. It's a gigantic networking opportunity. So 100%, yes. Don't just end with the applause. Make it a whole networking event.
Tiina.
and the follow-up is so important as well. The networking that happens on the day, yes, it's very important, but I always see it also with job interviews, when even if you're not the first candidate that has been chosen, a follow-up, because often it happens that the first candidate maybe rejects the opportunity. So
Or go and get another job.
yes, and it's really, if you follow up, it shows that you're interested, you want to continue the relationship, instead of saying, oh, like whatever you can say. So it's the same with networking. Follow up. LinkedIn is, I think, one of the best places to do that, building relationship and continue those conversations. You never know what can happen.
So Jeff Young says, don't memorize, be willing to take it where it needs to go. I know it's scary for some people, but I look at the faces of the audience and see whether they're falling asleep, or I quite often get asked to talk at the Insomnia Society. So and Debbie Wemmis says, know your speech. Excellent point, Gillian. I've never memorized the presentation. If you speak where you know what you know about and love your topic, you can do it. And I totally agree with that. And now you know why I'm not likely to do a TED talk. So Tiina and Gillian, thank you so much for coming on. And so if I wanted to buy a book, where can I get a copy?
Amazon. So just go to Amazon, Your Voice Matters, or you can look it up by either one of our names. We're both co-authors on the book, and it's available on Kindle and it's available in paperback. And the best part is all the drawings, because to me, they're like little cheat sheets. They're beautiful. They're in color. They're beautiful little cheat sheets. So it helps you remember what that chapter's about. So Tiina outdid herself with those beautiful drawings.
Tiina is amazing at doing these fantastic images. They're just awesome. So Tiina, where can we find you?
So LinkedIn is really the best place to connect. And like I said, build relationships, reach out, connect, say where we met, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation over there.
And Gillian?
Ditto on LinkedIn. Happy to meet you. And so, yes, anybody looking to connect, happy to connect. And if you have any questions about our book or about books or about live streaming or anything else, we're always happy to talk.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about a book. Fantastic book. And if there's anybody out there that's just got to do their first presentation, it is just a great resource for people to use, because you just walk people through it and you make it sound so simple, which in effect it is.
Easy peasy.